It's Sunday morning, and every decent man and woman is listening to Test Miles with Nick Miles on FM News 101 KXL. Buckle in.
Sunday morning, time to talk cars for the next 60 minutes on your weekly automotive experience. I'm Nick Miles. You're listening to America's Automotive Radio Show. Test Miles, locally created, nationally celebrated. Do have some news this morning. Our voiceover guy says every decent man and woman. There is some undecent people listening to the show.
Everybody I know.
Yeah, exactly. My friends, too. This morning includes lots of input from misfits, rapscallions, and ne'er-do-wells. We're going to talk about what we've been driving. I went on the Chevy Malibu launch. Probably one of the cars that needed the most love, care, and attention, and I think it may have just got it. Paul and Auto Show is coming around. Jeff Fishback's going to be in from the show, and he's going to tell us all about the cool things that he knows so far. And then, because we're in the holiday spirit, Peter Clover from Mobile West Autocraft is going to be here to tell us what cool stuff that Mobile West has got on sale just especially for Test Miles listeners today. By the way, thank you all, Test Miles Army, for being so supportive of the website. Our numbers about doubled in the last few months, and it's all coming from radio station people. All right, what have we been driving this week? Hyundai Sonata Hybrid, interesting vehicle. So Sonata doing really well in sales. It had a bit of a sort of drop in sales when they first did the remodel recently. But the new Sonata Hybrid, was interested to see how it does. Of course, great on fuel economy, refined and spacious interior. Really good standard equipment, and it's a quiet, smooth ride. I'm not so sold on the headroom. I am Hobbit size, however, I do have a long back and no legs. So I'm not so sure about the headroom because my head does get close to the ceiling. It does have a 2.4 cylinder engine, sorry, a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine with an electric motor. About 193 horsepower is what it puts out. 6-speed auto, front-wheel drive. The fuel economy is pretty good. Combined, they give it numbers of 42. Combined, 42. So 40 miles a gallon on the city, 44 on the highway. What does it compete against? Pretty much the mid-size sedan class that have hybrid. So that would be the Fusion, the Camry, and the Chevy Malibu hybrid, which doesn't do 44 miles a gallon on the highway, but it does really well. It comes in two trim levels, the SE and the Limited. Starting price is what I really like about it, $26,000. Which is a pretty good starting price. Also, a car which I know a lot of people have been trying to get into, I drove this week, the BMW X5 plug-in hybrid. This is the first SUV plug-in hybrid. Pretty impressed, have to say, about
I guess we're going to have to take your word for it, right, Sean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you guys are on the list.
To see you drive it.
No, to drive it. Let me look. Here's it.
Half the journalists in the world
1999.
still
I mean,
haven't yet.
2099.
2019.
2099. No, that 19 would have been wishful thinking. A 2-liter hybrid
We'll have to
engine
wait
with
for
4
these
cylinders.
parking lot ones.
The electric engine there, 308 horsepower, 8-speed auto, all-wheel drive. What does it go up against? The GLE PHEV and the Porsche Cayenne hybrid are probably its biggest competitors. Here's the bad news. $54,895. Everything you wanted from your X5, plus great fuel economy and really, really fun to drive.
What's the range on that thing?
You know what? I think it's about 14 on electric alone. I picked up my nephews and sister and brother-in-law from the airport yesterday. The nephews rode with me, and my sister and brother-in-law rode with my parents. Nephews like to ride with Nick because they always like to see what fancy cars he has. And they were so, I guess, disturbed by how quiet it was moving through the parking lot in the airport. They were like, this is a pedestrian damager. They call it a pedestrian damager. So it is. It's like whisper quiet as it goes through the parking lot. All right, Sean, what have you been in?
I've been actually driving one of its competitors, not a hybrid version though, but the Acura MDX. And it's a 7-row luxury SUV. I have to admit, this is my favorite SUV, luxury high-end SUV out there. Competes with the BMW X5, Buick Enclave, Lincoln MKT, and Acura's done...
Wait. Lincoln, they still make...
No.
Okay, sorry.
My bad, tongue-tied. But this... Acura's done a great job on this vehicle. Everything is just simple and easy to use from past Acuras where they had tons of buttons all over the dash. It's very simple to use. There's super all-wheel handling, super all-wheel drive. Fantastic. I mean, it's great for this flood season we have right now. 290 horsepower, 267 pounds-feet of torque, 9-speed automatic transmission. Little low on the gas mileage. Does get 22 average. The only bad thing about the vehicle that I could say is that I don't like their text system. They have a system where you can read your emails and texts, but you can't reply back to people. And I just feel in today's society, if someone emails you or texts you, you have to reply back to them. Or
You don't have to, but people want to. Yeah.
And, that's...
Brad, what are you shaking your head for, Brad?
Because I had a client, I didn't respond within 5 minutes, and they said, "What's the matter? Are you ignoring me?"
Right.
Well, you can reply. There's like 5 options, like okay, late, or running late, and no. And it's like, I think with Dodge you Connect, where you can actually voice your text response to it, and it replies back for you.
So I was just on the Jaguar new XF launch in Sedona this last week, and it has a new system in these cars that'll coming next year where it will automatically text people and give them your ETA if you're going to be late.
Oh, so I can't call my wife and say I'm just getting on the 205, and she knows.
She's going to know.
She knows I haven't left the office yet.
Brad Boyer, you are a liar.
I don't want people knowing that kind of information about me. But, I mean, that's the only bad feature. We've complained about their little funky transmission system where it's a push button. Being in the Honda Pilot beforehand, I actually got used to it and enjoyed it now. I like this vehicle.
Yeah, except you have to look at the buttons. I still think it would be okay if I owned it, but just driving on occasions, I just want to bang my head into it.
Yeah,
it's going to end up in a Starbucks someday from somebody hitting the wrong button.
Not really. After 2 weeks, I got used to it. And that's... because I had the Honda the week before, and getting into this one, I actually got used to it and knew exactly where things were.
All right.
It's just one
I'm
of those
sure in
things you have to
tests people do. Brad, what have you been into?
I got to be on my back-to-back midsize SUV test. I had
I'm glad you said back to back. All I heard was I got to be on my back. I was like, where is this going?
Somebody drove me around the RAV4, and last week I had the Mazda CX-5. So really interesting compare and contrast on that. So this is the 4th version of the redo that was done for the RAV4 in 2013. Mild upgrades, badly needed for the interior. The RAV4 was woeful, and even in customer reviews said the same thing on their interior. So it's much better. And the RAV4 is one of the original small crossover, small SUVs, now considered midsize. Base engine on this is a 2.5 liter with 176 horse. And it's okay. It's going to be the typical RAV4 sort of story. Yeah, it's okay. It's good, but you compare it to the Mazda, and they just
sell, these things sell like crazy.
So is Mazda wrong for creating a car with more horsepower, better power, less money, more fun to drive?
A lot of Mazda cars are the most, I would say, often are the best in the class, but because their dealer network is not always as big as everybody else's, not everyone has access to buy them. That's always been a Mazda problem.
And then the price is a little bit less for this. As I said, the price for these range from $24,350 up to $32,910. Now for the RAV, there is going to be a hybrid coming out. So.
Right, I've driven that actually. It's very, very nice, and the price difference is very nominal.
Don't they have an EV version of the RAV4 as well?
No, they discontinued that. Oh. But the plug-in hybrid version, or the hybrid version, I think is only going to be about $700 more. So it's going to be, finally, they get these hybrids down.
Absolutely. Tough category. Cherokee, Kia Sportage, all these great cars. So it's going to be
the new Kia Sportage, of course. That's going to be competition. Number 1 in that category is the Honda CR-V. Number 2 is the Escape. I'm not sure where the RAV4 falls. It may be 3, 4, or 5, somewhere in there.
And would you not take the Mazda CX over all of those if you had to drive it every day? It was just so fun to drive.
I think it probably would.
Little less cargo space than all of those.
Let's see how the Kia works. I'm really a fan of the Sportage. Let's see how the Kia turns out. But Mazda CX-5, I think, and unless anybody wants to challenge me on this, I think Mazda CX-5 is probably the best car in the class. I know that personally, I will have sold probably 4 or 5 of them this year.
Yeah, it was a perfect car for my mother-in-law. She's going out to take a look at one. 25 combined MPG, so pretty solid for a midsize
and what
crossover.
What was the starting price?
Starting price for the base is $24,350, but it's $1,400 more for the all-wheel drive system.
Yeah, and I'd have to have the all-wheel drive, especially living in the Northwest with all that flooding. Coming up, we can talk about Chevy Malibu. Wow, did they do something to this car that knocked its socks off? Also, the Paul and Auto Show, and we'll be talking about what special deals you can get running up to the holiday season. You're staying connected on FM News 101 KXL. This is Test Miles. I'm Nick Miles.
It's Test Miles on FM News 101.